Okay. Well, the film, Some Beasts, it's a film that takes place in Appalachia. It actually takes place on a farm that I lived and worked on for 3 years, so we had sort of a documentary element that we brought into it. A lot of the people who are in the film are farmers. Frank actually came up with me and worked and got to know everybody for a while and kind of became a part of the community, so it was a very sort of communal shoot. And we worked that way so that we could get sort of a real picture of an underrepresented community in cinema. So, but it has to do with Sal is the lead character who Frank plays, and he's an outsider, sort of a Thoreau type, who comes to live at a cabin on this farm and has a long distance relationship with a woman who's is fighting a custody battle. And so there are, themes of sort of fighting with these superstructures of government and kind of like where the modern food movement is going. And we kind of cover, self-sustainability and the ability to take care of yourself and your family sort of in these harsh environments, and follow his experience as he sort of moves through this world. Kind of the story of life and death in the country in a way. So, it stars Frank, and then Heather Kafka and Lindsay Burdge are the three leads. Heather plays the single mother who Sal has the long distance relationship with, and Lindsay plays Anna, she's the niece of one of the men who dies in the film, and comes over and sort of has like a dispute with Sal, like over the land, and so it kind of explores an outsider coming into this very insular community and how that works out.
What kind of research do you do for a role like this? I mean, did you actually read any Thoreau?
I'd read Thoreau when I was much younger, probably before I was really able to comprehend a lot of it, but really was hands-on. I mean, to play, I've never worked on a farm, and I told Cameron that I was so impressed and flattered by the script, what he wanted to say with this world, with this character, that I was in full support of, with the idea of self-sustainability. And it's a very classic story with the American dream and wanting a piece of land and doing something with that land. And so I knew that if I said yes, though, I would have to work on that farm and I would have to prepare. And so we took a trip up there, like he was saying, together, and we worked on the farm. And I got to meet a lot of the people that end up acting within the film, who are basically playing, versions of themselves. And it was an eye-opening experience. It was a beautiful experience. It was one of solitude as much as it was one of community and meeting a lot of people. But we had time to play and to experiment. And the whole narrative was shaped out of rehearsals, especially with Heather Kafka, who plays the past relationship in my life. We spent so much time together just talking about where we came from, because we knew in the finished product of the film that we would have very limited screen time, so we wanted to really be able to read into that, and you get a real sense of history and minutia within little moments between the two of us. So I'd say we probably had the most prep as actors in getting ready for the film. Lindsay Burdge and I had absolutely no prep, and I think Cameron will probably attest, works really well to how our two characters meet very suddenly and don't know who the other one is. So.
This is a question for both you guys, a two-part question. One, has there ever been a point in your life where you felt like outsiders, and did you revert back to that time? If so, for this film? And second question, Frank, would you ever go work on a farm or get a farm?
Yeah.
If you had a chance after doing this film?
I'll answer you first, just because you directed the last one of me. I would. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I have the commitment in me right now, because I'm too committed to the art and the art that needs the city culture in life to help perpetuate that and to help push you out so that people know what you do. But I would love to do that maybe someday. And as for being a loner, as a kid and growing up all through school, I feel like I was always friends with everyone. So in that way, I never fit into a group because I was cool with everybody. So I ended up kind of being alone in a really weird way because I was able to adapt with certain groups, but it made for a different kind of loneliness, and it definitely gave me time to reflect a lot as a kid. And I think a lot of that is in Sal, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the whole idea with this character was sort of based on, it's a little bit of an autobiographical story. So like having been such good friends with Frank and talking with him, he and I were able to like actually really get down to like the philosophical and psychological ideas that are involved with, you have this person who is part of this, postmodern society where, we are, the recorders here, like the cell phones, it's just like, it's such a, like when you go up to the country, it's like kind of this old world and kind of these old ideals. And for me, it was really interesting having the outsider kind of explore this environment, I mean, it's like, because in a way, in the way that the film is shot, it's sort of, the environment can also sort of represent the interior world of the character. And so I feel like there is the character sort of projecting himself onto this environment in the forms of the other two. There's like a young feral child in the story, which, you kind of get this idea of, is this like a real character? Is it somebody who is like, is it somebody who is somebody that Sal is going to take care of? Like there's the idea of two different families, with Sal and Anna and the little kid, and then with Renee and the story and the and her child. So yeah, I mean, but during the entire film, you have this person who's part of this community yet completely feels alienated, and so yeah, I mean, I guess in a way, it was sort of a philosophical like exploration of sort of that mindset of, you're born alone and you die alone, essentially. And are you ever really part of a community? Are you ever really part of a family? And it was more just kind of capturing that journey that this character is sort of going through. Yeah.
So Cameron, this is your first feature film, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you've done a few short films. Did you find it challenging crossing between like the two different types of mediums?
From short to feature?
Yes.
Honestly, most of my shorts don't work because they have like way too many ideas in them. So it was actually like really nice, like, to actually be able to like have some room to explore something bigger. And but yeah, no, I didn't find the transition difficult. I definitely had some really amazing producers, and then just had some great actors who are, in their own right, had some really great ideas of what to do with the characters. It's, for me, it's about, film is such a process of collaboration that like you want to bring in people who are better at doing what they do than you could direct them to do. And so for me, having good producers who helped like shape the story, but also having like people who are living out on the land and who could sort of guide us out there. I mean, everybody was bringing like their best talents in this film. And so, but yeah, in terms of the story and sort of shaping the action and making all of those connections, yeah, I enjoyed the process.
Can you talk a little bit about how the environment maybe became a character, and not just the visuals of the environment, but maybe like the sounds, or just the feeling of the environment itself?
Sure. I mean, I had worked on Upstream Color as an assistant editor and kind of helped form some of there was like some initial parts in the collaboration with Shane Carruth, like where, we were like kind of throwing around ideas and figuring out like how you could have scenes like play with like certain musical cues, and it was just a lot of fun, a lot of experimentation. And I feel like some of that, I mean, there's definitely like inspiration from that brought into this project because, there's like some really great the music's done by Stars the Lid and Curtis Heath, who's a local artist, and for me, the editing, the montage, the natural environment, and the music form almost like a beast of its own. So it's like there's several levels to me, like in terms of how you actually like think about the title of the film. It's like it's kind of like the interior beasts or monsters that we're constantly struggling with, but at the same time it's also reflected in the environment, but that's supported by kind of the montage and the score and all of that sort of working together. So yeah, I mean, putting him, in claustrophobic scenes in a cabin, where we're investigating solitude, and then cutting that into like a wide shot of him out in the middle of nowhere completely alone. I mean images like that you just can't write. It's something that has to be seen, and so it's really important for me, like in terms of the environment, the montage, but also just how we blocked out where Sal was going to have certain experiences in the film. Yeah.
Kieran, you were asked about going from short film to feature film medium, and this is also directed to you, Frank, because both of you guys are filmmakers. What's your advice to a filmmaker who's mostly doing short films and says, I want to take that next step, I want to make a feature film?
I don't feel like I'm in a place to give anybody advice. I mean, honestly, I would say, I would really say, like, make a lot of short films and have one be very successful, so that you can, seriously, like at a larger festival, like have it, because it's tough, like when you're an unknown filmmaker getting your first feature made, and that was the road that we chose. Like we were just like, you know what, let's just do it, and that's kind of the way that Frank and I are. Like when we get super motivated about like, all right, we can do this, we don't need anyone's help, kind of thing, and that's sort of like a young dumb mistake to make. I would say, be really great at telling a short form story. I mean, Yaqui's perfect example. Like his films are amazing. And what did he say? Story. Like that's his big thing. And for me, like Some Beast is a mood piece. It's a tone piece. I'm very proud of it. It's something but in terms of like, plot and story, it's not something it wasn't really about that. It was about community. It was about experience.
More about the themes and a plot.
Yeah, like the themes, like the philosophical themes, like the place, like the fact that there's this family and community that Sal is trying to be a part of, yet at the same time you can be surrounded by people and feel completely alone. So yeah, I would say make a really great short first, and one that story wise is just critically acclaimed, and yeah, practice that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
think he was first.
On a philosophical note, it seems like there's a breakaway movement now where people want to simplify and they want to back away and be sustainable. What do you think is the fascination with that now?
Oh, well, reliability on everything technological. It feels good to be able to have some sort of a control over your life, which I think is one of the big points of the film, is that Sal, the entire film, is completely out of control. He's like with hopefully the audience feels like they're just, the things that are happening to him are just as unexpected as what Sal is having to experience him at the same time and in the same moment that the audience is experiencing. That's what makes it sort of it's always called, like, the people who've seen it have called it an experiential film. It really is, because you have to sit there and the whole idea is that there's so many films that like want to make it about story and make it about plot, because the audience feels some sort of control of that, like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. But the idea with this film, and what makes it different, is that you sort of have to go along with the ride. And I felt like that was something that, in an environment where you are trying to be self-sustainable and you are trying to have some sort of control of your destiny and your environment, as humans, like, we're trying to subdue the earth or whatever it is that we're trying to do with it. It's like I wanted there to be a character who has that sort of mindset going into it, yet completely felt out of control by the end of the film. And, you know, there's not really an answer at the end of the film. And those are my favorite types of films, because it's like I want to leave the audience making their own decisions and having their own experience with it. So.
Great, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.